and welcome to Game Patrol. I'm your host, Landon Plumley, and this is episode 6 and our first in the month of February. So, yay! We can officially say that this podcast has been going on for 2 months, depending on how you look at it. Yeah, great. Yeah, I'm gonna be that guy with this one, okay? I take every little, milestone we can get. Yeah. But yeah, so gonna have a really fun podcast today. There's a whole lot that I want to talk about, and so this one might be a little bit longer. We'll see. I'm not sure yet. Next week. It's going to be a heck of a lot to talk about next week, and so I'm very excited for what is to come with this podcast, but I've got a couple things to talk about before we even get into anything, and that is, first off, because it is a new month, and I'm always trying to improve. Like I said, every single podcast episode, I'm trying to improve. I'm trying to come up with new things for you guys to be able to have a better experience, enjoy it more, that sort of thing. And so I have a really special thing this week that I'm very excited about, and that is that this podcast is now officially on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts now. Boom. That's a big deal. I mean, I've doubled the amount of services that I am now on. So now I am on Apple Podcasts, I am on Spotify, I am on YouTube, I am on Google Podcasts. So a lot of different stuff now. I want to make it, I want to branch out to as many people as I possibly can. And so if you listen to your podcast on Apple or Google, you prefer those, and you were upset that my podcast is not on there, I'm sure there were plenty of people who felt that way. But that's the thing now, you could do that. And so yeah, go ahead and give it a listen on there if that's what you want, or stick with what you got now. Doesn't matter to me. That's all for you guys. And so yeah, as far as I haven't checked Apple Podcasts yet, but I know Google Podcasts, it still is not showing up for me when I look up Game Patrol. So I don't know how much luck you guys are going to have right now to find it. Again, I don't know about Apple Podcasts. Since I don't have an iPhone, it's a little bit more difficult for me. Actually, I might be able to just look it up right now. Why not? And while I'm looking it up, I can get into the next thing that I wanted to talk about, which is we had a comment last week, our first ever comment. So Hip Hop Hobby Club, yeah, that's right, or Club. I don't want to say that wrong if it is wrong. Okay, so Game Patrol does show up on Apple Podcasts, so it is good to go. Google Podcasts, it won't show up for some reason. It's been a couple days now that it has been. I think it was Monday. Yeah, Monday was when I got the email saying it had been approved, and so it has been on Google Podcasts for a few days now, but for some reason it's still not showing up. Maybe by the time that this podcast goes up, it'll show up. I don't know, but yeah, they're all good to go. Anyway, back to my boy Hip Hop. So he commented on the last podcast and he said, "Knowledge is power. Check this and forget about the games." Games in all caps. He was very passionate about that part. But then he dropped the link. So this is in regards to Stadia. He dropped a link to this presentation that one of the people working at Stadia gave at GDC last year. So it was just a year ago that this talk was given, and I actually just listened to it. It's been a very busy week, but I'm glad I listened to it recently because it's all still fresh in my head. So I listened to it just a couple hours ago. And thank you if you're listening, Hip Hop. Thank you for commenting. Just because I liked engaging with the community in this way, but also thank you for sending me that because I'd never seen it before, and I learned a lot. Personally, for me, I really enjoy learning more about the game development process. That's stuff that I don't know a whole lot of, and I know there are a lot of misconceptions about how a game is made, and so I always love learning more about the game development process, things like that. And so it was really interesting to hear about how exactly games are made on Stadia, and it made me think about a lot of things I hadn't thought about before on Stadia. However, before I get super into this, because there are a lot of things that like I said, I was glad to hear about with this presentation, but I'm going to stop you right there with the forget about the games, because I mean, yes, there's a whole lot to a game service, like a game system, a console, or in this case, like a streaming service like Stadia. But the main thing is the games. And so you can have this great infrastructure, you can have these great development tools for devs, but if you don't have good games, I mean, yeah, what's the point of getting it? You know what I mean? And so we can't necessarily forget about the games, because that's the most important part. That's what sells your system, that's what sells your service, and that's what we as gamers care about most. I mean, yeah, it's nice for all this other stuff. Like I said, like, I own a PlayStation because I love the games. Even though I don't like the PlayStation 4 as a console, I think the Xbox One is much more easy to navigate, but I own a PlayStation 4 because they have a lot of really good games. And so, as a gamer, that's why I get it. And so, games are the most important part. So, sorry, but no, I'm not going to forget about the games, because that's kind of the important thing. But on like all the rest of the stuff, like with the presentation, it brought up a lot of really good things. For one, Stadia really worked hard, like the Stadia team, to make development super easy. And I think this is a game changer. One of the things that really stuck out to me with what he was talking about the presentation, I don't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody by that, but the thing I like most is the thing about how a person can make a patch or something. They can be working on part of the game that they're making and then upload it to the cloud, and then everybody can do it. Like, everybody can play that, instead of everybody having to download the game for like the 100 millionth time to test out like if the bug has been fixed, or whatever they're doing. And so essentially Google has just made game development a lot easier. There are some things that make it a little more challenging, because essentially, you could make the entire thing offline or anything, but if you're using Stadia's data centers to develop, I mean, you are using the cloud interface, which then means you need stable Wi-Fi connection. And so you're depending on Google a whole lot for your development, which can kind of get iffy. You're also just depending on your internet service provider for your development. And so it can get kind of iffy, but they've got good support. I mean, currently, it was another thing that was interesting, is that Stadia only supports Unity or Unreal Engine 4. Other engines have to be kind of worked in with like the Vulkan API, things like that. I'm not super knowledgeable about all this stuff, so if I say something wrong, it's because I don't know. I did. I tried to understand. I understand pretty much everything for the most part, but I don't know a whole lot about game design. I know like the basics of programming, but I am by no means an expert. I would love to learn more, but unfortunately the classes offered at Butler are very slim in terms of game design, which is a little unfortunate, but like I said, it's not my primary thing, so I'm not super upset about it. But anyway, yeah, but it seems like Stadia has really done some cool things with the Stadia developer. Like, anybody who develops for Stadia, there's a lot of really cool things that I think, when like all the kinks are ironed out and when everybody's kind of used to it, they get used to it, I think some really cool things are going to come of it. However, the thing is that it's not happening yet. As you can see, I mean, there are very few games that run at 4K 60 FPS. I think it's like 3 on Stadia right now. But yeah, I think it's interesting because Mortal Kombat 11 is one of those games that runs at 4K 60 FPS. And so it fully takes advantage of Stadia. And that's also one of the things that they really marketed. And I feel like Doom and Doom Eternal are both going to be 4K 60 as well, because I think they had a really close relationship with Stadia, and they worked really well with Stadia in their development. However, Destiny 2, they literally had Stadia devs over at Bungie, and it's only running at 1080. And so it's not a confirmation, but it's interesting. They have that help there, and so I think it is a matter of time. I think that this will not be an issue in the future. However, what makes it an uncertainty is that because Stadia's launch was so terrible and not many people care about Stadia anymore, if they don't do something to earn back investor trust, if they don't get Stadia back in the spotlight and they don't start improving their image, then no one's going to put in the time to get better at it. You know what I mean? And so you have all these really, really cool development tools that Stadia has made for Stadia devs, which definitely, if you have not seen this, if you are interested, go to the 5th episode of Game Patrol on YouTube and go down in the comments, click the link that he commented, and check out that presentation, because it's a really interesting look at how developers make games on Stadia. Although I thought it was interesting because he did avoid talking about how to port games over that aren't on that engine and different things. Like, he kind of avoided some different things, so I'd like to hear some more about that. But I'm trying to remember. There was another big one, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I should have taken notes, but I did not because I didn't think I needed to. But here we are. And so, yeah, I think it makes me a little, I don't know, like, it doesn't necessarily change anything that I said last week. I am thankful, like, I am more knowledgeable about that, and I think those are all great, but it doesn't change the problem that Stadia is in right now, which is they do not look good, and they need to look good. Also, it's like 2 weeks until I have to start paying for Stadia Pro. So as of right now, as a consumer, I have no reason to want to. Will I? Yes, because I'm a Stadia fan, but it's like, you know, like, I don't really have that much incentive, and I would really love for Stadia to give me that. And they really need to change their public image right now. Otherwise, I'm sure there are plenty of developers who feel the exact same way as I do and are not going to spend the time getting to know Stadia's dev software or getting to know how Stadia works, working hard on Stadia. If their games aren't going to sell on there, they're not going to do good. I mean, the free games aren't doing good on Stadia. The free ones, like the Stadia Pro games, they're not getting a lot of population. And so it's like, if I was a developer, I would not invest in Stadia right now. I would not make anything for Stadia right now. If I had a choice in the matter, I wouldn't. And so I say that as a Stadia fanboy. I would not do it because it's just not profitable right now. And so I would, you know, it's not worth the time it takes to develop a game. So, you know, again, this could completely change. I hope it completely changes, but that's kind of where we're at right now. And so, again, thank you for your comment. And like I said last week, and I'll say it over and over again, I've already said it today. I'm a big Stadia fan. I really wanted Stadia to succeed, but I'm not just going to be blind to all of the many issues that exist with Stadia right now. And I really, really hope that they fix things and they figure out what they need to do to kind of stay on top. Because when you look at the other streaming services, they all have a thing. xCloud has the it has Game Pass, so you have a library of games. You don't need to buy anything. GeForce Now, which kind of sort of came out of the blue. I mean, I know it's been in beta for a couple of years now, but we're going to talk a heck of a lot about that today. But GeForce Now, it just migrates your Steam games and your Origin games, although I think the only Origin game right now is Apex. They don't have Battlefield, I know that for a fact, and they don't have The Sims, and so I think the only Origin game is Apex. But Epic Games and Battle.net, it migrates all that over, so you don't have to buy the games on GeForce Now. Whereas with Stadia, you have to buy everything all over again. I was expecting, although I wasn't super surprised when it wasn't that, but I was expecting it to work the same way. You would just migrate your PC games over, but then they're like, no, Stadia is its own thing, which makes sense. But they need something to set itself apart. They need something that the competitors don't have, and they kind of do with the Stream Connect is really, really cool. I really want to try that out with Breakpoint, and they're going to have a lot of YouTube functionality coming up and just ways to interact. But those they're gimmicks, okay? As cool as they are, you know, would you invest in a service and buy all these games over again just for those features? No. I mean, maybe a couple people would, but, you know, like, Stadia needs something to set itself apart. And so right now, what they have is you get the best image quality. So they're the only service right now with 4K 60 FPS. Granted, only a few of the games have that, but it does exist. GeForce Now is capped at 1080p 60 FPS, and xCloud is capped at 720. I'm assuming 60 FPS, but I don't know for sure, but 720p. But yeah, so that's kind of the only thing that Stadia has right now, but that isn't really enough either. So yeah, that's what Stadia needs to figure out. What can they do to diversify themselves, to make themselves unique, and make people want to invest in Stadia? Because you're not buying a box, but you're buying all these games, and so why do you want to do that on Stadia? And so I think that's a question that Stadia hasn't really answered, and they should, because if GeForce Now, essentially the only reason that I still prefer Stadia right now, and that's by a very narrow margin, is because they have the 4K, while GeForce does not. If GeForce comes out with 4K, I'll totally switch. Like, I mean, I'm going to use both regardless, but I'll use GeForce more than Stadia. So anyway, I'm going to talk a lot more about GeForce and all of that in a little bit, as you can tell by the title of this podcast. But let's get, back into a regular schedule. One more time, thank you, Hip Hop Hobby Club, for your comments and the information. Like I said, I always love to learn more and more about the gaming community, especially something like Stadia and game development, all of that. It really tickles my fancy. So thank you again. But getting into the nitty gritty here. First, going to talk about the games coming out in this next week, which there's only one. So, and this one's kind of a smaller, I mean, depending on whether you're a fan of the series or not. But this Tuesday, okay, I should clarify, this is not the only game coming out. It's just the only notable game coming out. So before I get people mad at me in the comments, even though there probably won't be that issue, but just in case, covering my bases. So this Tuesday, Yakuza 5 Remastered comes out on PS4. Interestingly enough, you can't pre-order it. I guess I didn't check. I think you can technically get the physical edition. You can pre-order that like with retailers, but there's no digital copy available to purchase on the PlayStation Store. Because I was looking it up to try to get a description for it to talk about here, but there wasn't one. They had the PS3 version though. But yeah, the PS4 version you can't get digitally. I mean, I'm assuming you will be able to, just not right now. But it was a little weird. But yeah, this is a remastered edition of the Yakuza franchise from the PS3. Well, not the franchise, but this one specifically. 5. So the legendary dragon returns to the criminal world of Yakuza. Kazuma, okay, I'm going to butcher these names, just going to throw that out there because I've never played the Yakuza games. But Kazuma Kiryu, once known as the Dragon of Dojima, was living a quiet life as a taxi driver in Hakata after severing all his ties with the underworld. However, at the dawn of the bloody war between the Tojo clan and the Omi alliance, Kazuma is forced to accept his inescapable fate and returns to a life filled with crime and violence to protect his loved ones. So yeah, the Yakuza franchise is, highly praised by everybody. And this is really cool because this means that you can play all of the mainline Yakuza games on PS4. And I really want to get into them. I really like Sleeping Dogs. And so Sleeping Dogs is kind of America's attempt at making Yakuza. And so it was really good. I really love Sleeping Dogs. It was a really fun game. So I'd like to play the Yakuza games. I believe I have I either have 0 or 1. Because it was free on PlayStation Plus 1 month, so I snagged it. I think it is Yakuza Kiwami, but I have one of them. I've been meaning to play them. I just haven't yet. Eventually, I'll get to it, but that day is not today. I have too many games that I need to play. But yeah, so if you're interested in that, go ahead. And like I mentioned earlier, they are coming out with a physical edition of 3, 4, and 5 remastered all together in a box set, so you can get all of them. It comes with some cool stuff. I think it even comes with a PlayStation 3 sleeve for 5. I don't know. It comes with some weird stuff, but you can get that if you want. And so yeah, they've been releasing them over the past few months. I believe 3 came out in the fall, or maybe a little earlier than that, and then 4, and now 5 is releasing on Tuesday. So yeah, if you want that, there you go. And so Now getting into the gaming news. So the biggest gaming news of this week is that Nvidia launched GeForce Now seemingly out of the blue. I don't know. Their marketing has been very, very little. So we could have known about this before, but I had not heard of it. And so 2 days ago for you guys, yesterday for me, they launched GeForce Now out of beta, because the beta had been going on for a couple of years. I had heard about it, but I hadn't heard very much. Again, their marketing was very poor with it. And maybe they meant to do that because then, you know, they don't have as many people applying for the beta. They can keep the servers small, because that's kind of the biggest problem with GeForce Now, right? Like as of now, is that they have very few data centers. I believe it's 9 in the US, and then they have a few in some other countries. So just not a whole lot of server space. But they've launched with 2 different kinds of memberships. So you can get the free membership, which, yeah, you get full access. Hold on, actually, I should have looked this up, but I did not. Sorry, I'm getting to it. Because I know more about the paid membership, because that's what I got. So apologies. Looking at it, and because I just don't want to mess it up, and I want to make sure that you guys get everything. And so with free, you get standard access, and you get a 1-hour session length. So this is kind of the thing that sets stuff apart from the other two, meaning xCloud and Stadia. So if you have the free membership, you can only be on at an hour at a time, and then you sort of get bumped into a queue. So if the servers are full, then you have to wait for one to open up. And so you get 1 hour, and then you're kicked off, and then you have to get back in queue if you still want to play. But if you do the Founders membership, which is $5 a month for 12 months, you get priority access, which means you get above anybody trying to play that's free. An extended session length, which I found out is not unlimited. It's a max of 6 hours that you can play at one time. Though I'm interested to find out if that's like so they say it says up to 6. It doesn't actually say here. It's in the FAQ section where one of the questions is what do you mean by extended session length? And so they say up to 6 hours. So I wonder if it would cut you off even sooner if there were more people. But it's longer than an hour because it's extended. So they have to live by that. But I wonder if it'll always be 6 or if they'll cut it down if there's a bunch of people. But I have the Founders membership, and I've never had to wait in a queue or anything like that. So I don't think there's a whole lot of people on it, so I don't think this will be an issue now. Maybe it will be later. I'm interested to see if anybody out there has the free or the Founders. If you've ever had to experience the queue, let me know. But I personally have not in the time that I've played, but I haven't played very much, so I could be completely wrong. But anyway, on top of that, you also get access to RTX if you are a Founders. So that's really, really cool, and something that I was super excited about, because RTX is something that I've been trying to build a PC to see, because like Battlefield 5, which is not on GeForce Now. But the current games, there are a few games that use RTX, but the big ones, like the ones that are really well known for their RTX that are currently on Stadia is Metro Exodus, Wolfenstein Youngblood, and I think that's it. Those are the 2 big ones. So like Shadow of the Tomb Raider is not on GeForce Now currently. Control is not on GeForce Now. Quake 2 is on there, so you can play Quake 2 RTX with GeForce Now. But yeah, there's not a whole lot as of right now, but obviously that will change as time passes. And also, really, really cool thing is a limited time offer, so jump on it if you have any interest at all in streaming services or GeForce Now. Listen up, because as of right now, limited time, so who knows when this is going to end, but you can get GeForce Now, the Founders Edition, completely free of charge, because it has a free 90-day introductory period, and then you pay the $5 a month. So I signed up for that. I did not pay anything. It did not charge me like $5 and then take it off or anything like that. It was completely free, and then they're going to charge me $5 in May. And so it's really, really nice. 90 days free, nothing like that. And so yeah, pop on it, guys. Really, it's a really cool deal. You know, it carries over all your Steam games, so if you are a lax PC player like myself, this is awesome. I'm very excited about it because I have an outdated PC, and then I have a laptop where I can run a lot of games, but some of them not very well, and so this is really cool. And for some reason, the quality of the camera on YouTube is not that great. So apologies for that, YouTube peoples. I was messing with the filters again, trying to make it look a little better, and it seems I did not, because it kind of looks weird and fuzzy. For my Spotify or other podcast listeners, you don't know what I'm talking about, so I'll shut up now. But yeah, GeForce Now launched, and I'm going to go a lot further in detail about what I think about it, both this week and next week, because I played it a lot yesterday, was testing out different things, and I am really liking it a lot. And so definitely, if you care at all about streaming or interested at all in this or any other thing, please check it out, because it's really, really cool. And they have plenty of free games. Like I said, Apex Legends is on there, Fortnite is on there, so you don't have to buy, like if you have never been a PC gamer and you don't own anything, there's plenty of free games that you can check out on there. I think they said 30. They had 30 free games, so they have War of Tanks on there, World of Tanks, isn't that what it's called? A bunch of other free games that you can check out, so you don't even have to buy any games right now if you don't want to. Yeah, so next up, big thing. So the Wonderful 101, it was a Wii U game, did not do well, but got pretty good reviews. It is getting a remaster and is being funded on Kickstarter, and it met its goal in about 23 minutes. So this was a really cool thing. It was rumored that this was going to happen. I think it was like a couple days before. There was some, some whispers going on. And then, it launched on February 3rd. And within minutes, they met their goal to port it over to the Nintendo, to make a remastered version for the Nintendo Switch. And then they had stretch goals, which were also met within, I think, like an hour. And so for $50,000, they got the Switch version. So blew through that. $250,000, they got a Steam version. Blew through that. $500,000 a PS4 version, and they topped that too. And they have also topped $1 million. And so as of right now, so as of December 5th, 2020 at 9:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, they have made $1,371,127. Over 21,000 people have backed this project, so it's really, really cool. This is cool. I've never played the Wonderful 101 because I never owned a Wii U, but I'm excited about this. It sounds like my type of game. I love superheroes, that sort of thing, and so it's something I'm interested in. Have I backed it? No, because I'm broke, but I really want to, and it took a lot in me to not, but I just don't have the money to be spending on that. But I may later on, because there's still 29 days for me to do it, and so wouldn't be surprised if I made an impulse decision one time, but I'll try not to because I don't need to. But they also have some more stretch goals for their, if they keep making money, they will add even more things to the remaster. And so their hope is to ship out I think it's just the Switch version is coming out in April, maybe the PC as well. And then the rest are supposed to ship by November. But it could be earlier. The thing about November is just, they have a lot of pledge goal or, they have a lot of rewards you can do, and so just the amount of time to make all of the swag, they said by November is when you would get everything. So, but by April is when we're supposed to get the remaster on Switch and possibly PC, PS4, and then all the other stuff is coming sometime later this year, but it will come this year, according to them. So really, really cool thing if you are a fan of Wonderful 101, and it's something that I really want to check out. But so gamers are very excited about this. It was also really cool. I mean, Platinum's been in the news quite a bit this week. They also they've teased the game by just showing the number 4, and so people are wondering if it's shoot, I don't remember. Some people were wondering if it was a Nier game, and then there's another one. I remember it's some game that I didn't recognize. If they're making a sequel to that or something. But they're teasing a new game, and they also said that they would love to continue making Scalebound if they got approval from Microsoft, because Microsoft still owns it, which has brought about a lot of debate because people were like, okay, well, some people were like, well, Scalebound was canceled for a reason. We still really don't know what that game was. It was just kind of like a Devil May Cry style dragon game, whoa. And it kind of makes sense, but it just looks so cool. Okay, you slap a Dante like dude on anything, and it'd be cool. it looked like such a cool game. I mean, it could have been trash, and maybe that's probably why I was canceled. But you know, it'd be so cool to see. I'm definitely on team Scalebound. Like, if they were to bring back Scalebound, I would immediately pre-order that thing. I was so excited for it, just because it looks so awesome. And who knows if it would have played well. But I mean, look at Platinum's track record. They got Bayonetta, they got Astral Chain, they got Nier Automata, they got other stuff that I'm definitely forgetting about. The Wonderful 101. I mean, like I said, it got pretty good reviews, but nothing insane. Yeah, they got a lot of good games on their track record, so I think they could do fine with Scalebound. You know, it'd be cool. It'd be cool. They're also working on that other game that they really don't talk about that's coming this year. I forget what it's called. That's how little they talk about it. They got a lot of games they're working on. I wonder how like spread thin their team is. That's usually a bad thing, but again, they make good games, so I guess it's not. I don't know. But anyway, moving on to some stuff. So Warcraft 3 Reforged came out, and fans are not happy because essentially there's a lot of features that are missing from the original game, and there's content they promised to expand the story, and it seems that that's not what has been done here. There are cutscenes that were shown off before that did not make it into the final game, and so people are upset. They feel like there's been some false advertising, and so they're review bombing on Metacritic. It's like 29,000 reviews or something like that. It's got a 0.5 user score. It's pretty bad, especially because Blizzard is not in people's favor right now after the whole BlitzCon situation, among other things. And so, yeah, this is just another nail in the coffin well, not even nail in the coffin, because Blizzard has such massively successful IPs that I don't think anything could really kill Blizzard at this point. But it's people aren't happy about it, and they came out with a statement saying like, yeah, we're gonna patch up these fixes, because there were also server issues at launch, and so they're like, yeah, we're gonna fix this. But ultimately, people kind of took away from it that like, hey, we're not gonna change anything, so this is kind of what you got. That's at least what I'm hearing. I'm not super close to this because I've never played Warcraft 3. I considered purchasing it, but again, I'm broke, and so it's not really something that I care that much about, even though I do play World of Warcraft. It's not something I care about enough at this point in time. But yeah, people are upset at Blizzard. What else is new? Moving on, you got some Overwatch changes, and this is something I really do care about. So people who don't care about Overwatch, I'm going to be talking for a few minutes on Overwatch. So here you go. So first off is the big thing, which people are upset about, which I don't know. So essentially, the team has been trying to make competitive mode more accessible and more fun, less stagnant. They've been doing this for months. They introduced the 2-2-2 system, so you have to choose whether you want to be support, tank, or DPS at the very beginning, and then that determines how long you wait, which I think is so freaking stupid. I mean, it's with good intentions, but the problem is you have to wait like 10-15 minutes to play a DPS character because everybody wants to play DPS. And so it's really annoying to kind of like want to play everybody. And so I mostly just play as a support. I mean, Lucio's my boy, but it's kind of annoying because, you know, I kind of want to have fun with the DPS every once in a while, but I can't do it because it takes forever, and I don't want to wait that long to play a game. Like, even in quick play, it's a long time, and it's just super annoying. But yeah, it's good intentions, but it just doesn't. It's annoying. That's what it is. And so now they have added something else to try to help with the metagame. This is only in competitive, whereas the 2-2-2, that's everywhere. This is just in competitive play. So they are going to, they have a random generator that picks a group of heroes. I don't believe they've specified how many heroes it will be. I don't know if it'll just be a few. They said a few, so whether that's like 3 or maybe a few more than that. But a randomly generated pool of heroes will be removed each week in competitive. So this is random. This is not who's doing the best or who's doing whatever, who's the worst. They're just gonna, you know, have an algorithm that picks out a few heroes, and then they will be removed for that week. And so it's supposed to essentially get people to stop having mains, or, you know, be a little more flexible, which I think is an interesting idea. There's a lot of people that are upset about it. We'll see how it works. As of now, I kind of like it. I think that's a cool idea. As someone who, you know, I have people that I'm better with, but I don't have like one diehard person I'm set with, especially if someone on my team takes that person. You know, I already kind of am a little bit fluid, and so, you know, I think this is kind of cool, especially because you have some people that are just really annoying and they will die hard, like they only play this character, and if they can't play it, then they're out, they won't do it. So yeah, this is interesting. I think it will maybe freshen it up a little bit, but it's to be seen how well this is implemented. But yeah, it's interesting. But then also they're introducing a new mode, which is kind of like PTR, but not. So it's called Experimental Card, and essentially it is going to be a way, so it's not to test bugs. That's why it's not like PTR. But if they want to test out balance changes, so if they want to nerf or buff people, or test out new game modes or rule changes, things like that, this is kind of their little testing zone. And so it's not going to be like PTR. It's also going to be available on consoles, whereas PTR is only on PC. And so this is just sort of like the developers testing out things, seeing if it's good. So this doesn't necessarily mean that any of the stuff in Experimental Card will be implemented, whereas PTR is kind of like a beta for content that is coming. Experimental Card is just kind of like the devs' playground that you can participate in. That's sort of what's going on. So that's also interesting. I don't know if any of these are live. I know season 21 of Overwatch will have that change. So I don't believe so. It'll be when season 21 starts. So I don't know when that date is. It sounds like when that launches, they will also launch the Experimental Card. So yeah, I don't keep up enough. I would love to play Overwatch regularly. I kind of had a brief stint where I got back into it, but I just don't have the time to. But if I had the time, I definitely would, because I love Overwatch. It's one of the best games ever made, even though it is by Blizzard. But the people that made it are not the people who did Blitzchung, so let's all remember that. Please, and thank you. So last up on the gaming news, Nintendo released their sales figures for the year, and so they talked a lot about their games and their consoles, how they've been doing, how they've been selling, and there's some really good news. So Mario Kart 8 is still on top, as it should be, with 22 million units sold. So that's pretty great. That is almost... So essentially, for every person that owns a Switch, for every two people that own a Switch, one has Mario Kart. One out of every two people. Because one of the things they also said is that 52 million Switches have been sold. However, there are a bunch of people that own multiple Switches. And also, 5 million of those Switches are lights, and there are people that own Switches and Switch lights. And then there's people like Per Schneider who own, I believe it's 6 Switches. So that's why I say it's somewhere probably around like a 1 to 2 people that own a Switch own Mario Kart. And there was also a rumor that came out that Mario Kart 9 is going to be the big fall game, and it's also going to take like a Smash Ultimate approach of doing it. So that's exciting, because I would love to see Mario Kart Ultimate, or like, I had a name for it. I can't remember what I called it. If it was like Mario Kart Ultra or something like that, Mario Kart Complete or something. Because I think it'd be really cool, because Mario Kart 10 wouldn't be that difficult, because you just call it Mario Kart X. So even if they do have like an Ultimate or whatever, the next Mario Kart, just call it X. They don't have to say like Ultimate Plus or anything like that. They can just call it X, because then it's the 10th one. Things like, they can be all cool with it. So I don't think they really have to worry that much about it. Also, apparently 9 is like not a good number in Japanese or something like that. That's what I heard. I may be completely wrong. That might have just been something someone said that was racist, but I don't know. And so I heard they would probably avoid making it just called Mario Kart 9. And so, it makes sense to do the Ultimate thing, like have something along those lines. But that'd be fantastic. I mean, the numbers show, though. You could also be like, well, it's still selling, so why make another one? Because this was a freaking port, okay? Like, I want new content. I want new stuff. I want all the maps plus new ones. I want a Smash Bros. Ultimate of Mario Kart. That'd be so amazing. It's so much fun. Like, I've been meaning to boot up Mario Kart again, because of like people talking about it again, and people talking about Mario Kart 9. And it's been a while since I played. but it's so much fun. It's so much fun, and it never gets old, you know? Like, you have people come over. I mean, Smash is kind of the game for me now, but like with people that aren't good at Smash, I whip out Mario Kart, because you don't have to be good. You just have fun with it, you know? Like, it's so much fun. It's great. I love Mario Kart. It's so fantastic, and that's the reason it's number 1. And number 2 is also Smash. So like the two, like, they're really, really good. So yeah, Smash is number 2 with 17 million copies. And then you got a few games at 16 million. One of them being Pokemon Sword and Shield, that is already there. It's already one of the best-selling Pokemon games of all time. And this is just after 2 months, not even. And so I think it's safe to say that Pokemon Sword and Shield is going to be the best-selling Pokemon game of all time. So yeah, it's a fantastic game, and it 100% deserves it. Also, Luigi's Mansion 3 has sold 5 million copies, which is really, really good and really cool. I'm not as big a fan of Luigi's Mansion as a lot of people are. I thought it was a good game, but not a great game. I think the last third of the game is really rushed. And I think it could have used more time in development, but it's good. It's good. You know, it's whatever. You know, I guess okay. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. So yeah, a lot of cool Nintendo news. There's other stuff, but that's kind of the gist of it. If you want to know more, you can go ahead and look that up on your own time, you flipping lazy butt. But yeah, so that about wraps up the gaming news for the week. And now I'm going to talk about something I love, which is GeForce Now. I'm very excited. So is GeForce Now the new streaming king? I would wager that it could very well be. So like I said, I kind of talked about it a lot in the beginning with Stadia and all that, and I got to play a decent amount of it yesterday, and I'm going to play some of it tonight. I'm probably going to be playing it daily at this point now, because I really, really enjoy it. So I'm going to walk through my process of my experience with GeForce Now, because there's a lot of different things that I could test with it, which was really nice because of migrating over to Steam games. So I had a huge library to pick from, because I am a lapsed PC gamer. So I had things like The Witcher 3 already, also Doom, Overwatch, all these sort of things. So it was really nice because I had a lot that I could kind of play around with. But so first off, the first thing I tried was The Witcher 3, because that's kind of like the best graphical thing I had at the moment. I'm very highly considering getting Metro Exodus. However, I own it on Stadia. Don't really want to purchase it for a second time, because I got it before it went free this month. So yeah, but I just want something with RTX on it, you know. And I heard Wolfenstein with Youngblood is not that great, so that's why I want an RTX game, and Metro seems like the best. Metro seems like the best looking game I can get on GeForce Now right now, but I might just hold off and maybe get Red Dead when that comes out, even though I have it on the PlayStation already. And it looks better on PlayStation actually, but it's whatever. I keep losing my train of thought. I'm sorry, I keep going off track today. But so the first game I tried out was The Witcher 3, and that was probably the worst experience I had with GeForce Now. And so I first started out and I was just like, man, this is not that great. My buddy tried it out before me, and he did not have the greatest time with it, so I kind of was going into it, you know, with low expectations. And the reason I say that it was the worst was because, for one, so how GeForce Now works is essentially, instead of like how Stadia works, where that you don't really see any behind the scenes action, it just launches the game at you. GeForce essentially is kind of a little bit more old school, in that it looks like it just kind of screen shares the PC that they have to you. So it launches up this version of Steam or whatever client you're using, depending on the game that you're running. Uplay is another one that they have. I mentioned all the game services they're working with. Uplay is another one of them. But you got all that. Oh, I can get Uplay Plus now, and get access to Far Cry 5. I just realized that. Ooh. Anyway, I'm sorry, I lost train of thought again. But you launch up Steam, and you have to like hit play on the game. Even though you hit play on the game in your library in GeForce Now, you have to play again on the PC that is running that. But it had me install The Witcher 3 on the PC that I was doing. It was only 10 gigabytes, so it wasn't like the full game. And I believe it did the same thing for Doom, but then it didn't for some other games. So it's kind of a case-by-case scenario. Thankfully, their ISP at whatever they have is really good, so it didn't take long to install. But I was like, this kind of sucks. Like, the whole point is to not have to install it, and here you are. I'm installing it on your PC. I was like, what the heck is this service? But The Witcher is the only one I had. The Doom install, it was literally over right as it started, so I don't even know how big it was. I think it was like a few megabytes. So yeah, it's a little weird, but they have that, I guess. I mean, I wonder if it has to do with save files. It could very well have to do with the save files. Downloading your save files, maybe, but 10 gigabytes of save files for The Witcher. I don't know if I don't think it's possible for Stadia or for save files to take up that much space. I don't think that's it, but it's a possibility. Unless it's just for some reason on that specific PC, no one had played The Witcher yet, or like no one had played The Witcher enough to have it all the way installed. I don't know, but they did this weird thing. So it ran fairly well, but there were times where the quality kind of dipped, whether it would have been my internet service provider or what. But it's like, it was almost like NVIDIA was trying to hide it, and so it got kind of fuzzy. But it's like they upped the contrast to make it so where I couldn't notice it as well. So it was just, everything kind of looked off, where it's like it kind of looked fuzzy, but it kind of didn't. And so it looks like NVIDIA is trying to do this weird thing where they filter the image, so if you have a dip in quality, it's not as noticeable. I could be completely wrong on that, but that's just kind of how it looked like to me as someone who's used Stadia a lot, and Stadia doesn't do that. That kind of seems like something they're doing. I could be completely wrong, but yeah, and I only noticed that on The Witcher. That's the only one where I had kind of dips in quality, but it looked good. Like that scene. It seems like brighter environments were not as great, but the darker environments, they looked really good. But again, this is 1080p. This is not 4K, although I hope it comes soon. But then I moved on to Doom because I really wanted to test the latency. You can't really test that very well on The Witcher. Not that it's a necessarily slow game, but Doom, like that's, you know. So I was playing all this on controller because I remembered Stadia. You do not use a mouse and controller with Stadia because the latency just makes it unplayable. You can't do it. So yeah, I had a controller, started playing Doom, and I played Doom on a lot of platforms. I own, like I said, I own Doom on PC, so I started playing it on that. I also played it on Switch, and I could not tell a difference. It ran better than it ran on Switch because you got 60 FPS. So it's like, my God, one, it looks fantastic. All of that weird fuzzy stuff, it was not there. It was not, the stuff from The Witcher was not on Doom. It ran amazing. I felt no latency whatsoever. There's some minimal latency, like 5 milliseconds, 10, something like that. But it's not noticeable to the human eye or anything like that. The shooting mechanics were great. It was like playing it, you know, on your system. It did not feel like I was streaming Doom. There was no dip in quality. Now, granted, I was playing all of this on Ethernet. I did play some off of Ethernet on my phone, and I didn't notice any. It does a really good job of keeping you know, connected well and working with your Wi-Fi. So even when it told me, you know, slower connection or something like that, it gave me notices. I didn't feel the game stutter at all. So I think they do a really good job at keeping you good. Like, I don't know. They do a really good job of that. So it probably comes with the 2 years of beta testing. And so I think they've got this pretty well nailed down. But yeah, Doom ran like a dream. I was shocked at how well Doom ran. So then I wanted to test it even further. So I was like, okay, knuckle crack here. We're going to play Overwatch on mouse and keyboard. That is like the ultimate test because I hadn't found a flaw with the latency yet. Like I said, Doom, I couldn't even tell that it was streaming. I mean, obviously I knew, but you know, I couldn't tell a difference. And so I pulled up Overwatch. I played quick play. I was not about to play competitive on streaming, no matter how like insane I thought that it ran. I didn't notice a single thing. Mouse and keyboard, like, guys, if anybody out there has used a streaming service, you guys know how insane that is to have a mouse and keyboard layout. Like, you can't map a mouse. Like I'm pulling this up. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that I've got my mouse right here. Like you can't. It's so varied with a thumbstick. You know, it can only move in certain ways. But a mouse is completely up to you. You can just do that whatever. And so for it to go that quickly to NVIDIA and back and just, it's insane. It is absolutely insane that NVIDIA has that low of latency. It is. I am shocked. Like I had no issues playing Overwatch with a mouse and keyboard by streaming it. Like it still sounds unreal to me. Saying it out loud sounds crazy. I immediately told my friend, I was like, we have to play Overwatch together. And so I think we're going to on Thursday. We're gonna play something together on Thursday, which is today for you guys, but tomorrow for me. But it's insane. I don't know how they've done it. I really don't. It blows Stadia out of the water. This service works remarkably better than Stadia. The only thing that Stadia has over it right now is 4K. That is it. And that is why I put a question over whether it's the new king, because if it had 4K, yeah, consider Stadia dead. And if they do come out with 4K soon, like I said, I'll switch. You know, that'll be my primary thing, because my God, GeForce works really, really well. There's one thing that has not worked super duper well for me with GeForce Now. Again, like there's some weird stuff going on with The Witcher, but that's not a super big concern for me. I have some problems with Apex, and I just think that's just some poor optimization on either the devs or whatever. Maybe it's because it's with Origin, and maybe that's why they don't have more games on like from Origin. Because one thing that's noticeable, so I would recommend to anybody using GeForce Now, when you launch a game, if it doesn't look good to you, or if you just want to get the best possible quality, go into the settings first, because they don't always have it maxed out. And so you can max it out. Again, it's stuck at 1080, but you can crank up some settings a little bit more than they already have set. It lets you, and I've had no issues with it so far. So like I cranked up Doom to higher than it had previously set, and I didn't have any issues, like I said, so it's fine. But you can mess around with settings. Unlike Stadia, you can mess with that stuff. So I definitely suggest that you do, to kind of tailor it to whatever you want. But Apex is 720p max. It is not. You cannot play Apex in 1080p, and I was having issues with it. I'm gonna get on tonight and see. Maybe it was a fluke, but any time that I shot a weapon, the game stuttered, and I couldn't do anything. It made the game unplayable for me. Like, you can't do any good until I found a way to kind of cheat it. So I got a shotgun, and you know, shotguns, you can do pretty well. And also I did change it so it's automatically put at balance, which is supposed to give you the highest visual quality without with sacrificing as little as possible for the performance. I switched to performance it's called competitive mode, to give you the highest FPS possible, which doesn't change a whole lot since it's already at 720, but it just turned all the settings down to low, and I still had the same issue. So I sent some feedback to GeForce about it, to NVIDIA, and I told them about the issue, and so I hope that it gets fixed soon. Maybe it's a fluke. Again, I'm going to test it again tonight, but that was kind of upsetting because I spent money on Apex because Season 4 just started, and so I got the newest Battle Pass, and I got it on the PC version. I mean, my laptop's good enough that I can just install it on my laptop and keep playing, just play off of it. But it's a little bit annoying. I hope they do fix it because it's really, really cool. And I hope they up it to 1080, but that might just be an EA thing or a Respawn thing and not NVIDIA's fault. I don't know whose fault it is, because this is different than Stadia. I'm assuming these are PCs and not an entirely new platform that NVIDIA is using. So, I don't think that's an issue that NVIDIA needs to be concerning themselves with. I feel like that's something that EA needs to fix. And I hope they do, because Apex is really, really fun. And I really want to play with my friends on GeForce. So, I have a PC that's capable of running Apex, but my buddy does not. And I really want to play Apex with him on here because I think it'd be really fun. And so I hope they fix it soon. But let me know if you guys have GeForce, if you guys have tried out Apex, are you having the same issues? If you haven't tried Apex and you want to, please do, and let me know how it runs for you. I mean, maybe it's just me, I don't know, but it was continuing to happen. But yeah, so I let them know. Hopefully it's changed. They haven't responded to me, but you know, I don't know how that all works, their whole feedback system. But yeah, it's really, really good, and I really love it a lot. And I think it could quite possibly be, like I said, the reason I'm not 100% sold is because it is capped at 1080 right now, so you know it doesn't have that, but performance wise it runs better than anything. It runs better than xCloud, it runs better than Stadia. And so where we're at right now with the streaming services is you have, like I said, I think it's I think it is kind of number one. It is kind of the king right now. I think it is. You have GeForce Now, where it migrates all your PC games over. Well, not all, but it will eventually, hopefully. You've got all these PC games that you can play. So, like one thing like Halo, you can't play the Master Chief Collection as of now, but that will most likely come soon. And so you've got all these games you can play from your PC if you've bought them, or all these free games. You can play 1080p, like they ran, like, you know, like you were just playing them there, except for a few games. But a lot of the games, you know, run really, really well on GeForce Now, as good as playing it on a console or a high-powered PC. Really, really good. And then you have Stadia. Oh, well, okay, but I should also mention, though, with GeForce Now, that your session times are capped. For someone like me, I don't have a whole lot of time to play video games. I don't think that will ever be an issue for me. But for some people, it will be. And so that is something. And it's just because they don't have enough data centers. But if you have enough people backing it, they can invest more into it, get more data centers. And I don't think that will exist forever. I don't think there will be session caps for the entirety of GeForce Now. I think that's something that they're doing now because they just don't have the resources, but they will eventually get it if it takes off, which I think it can. They need to market it. Like, I've not seen any ads for this at all. They need to get on it because this is really, really good and it deserves the recognition. And so I really hope that they market this more and be like, hey, we have a thing that's kind of better than Stadia, so get into it. And it's really cool. And they have free games that you don't have to make any commitment to GeForce Now, whereas with Stadia you do. And it's also kind of it's in a beta. It says it's not, but it is. Stadia is in its beta, whereas GeForce Now is officially out of beta in its full form, and it's really good. And Stadia has issues. And so getting into Stadia, you've got the 4K textures at 60 FPS for like 3 games, and then others are lower than that. And you've got really good functionality too, but not as good as GeForce Now. GeForce Now takes the cake with that latency issue, but still, Stadia games work really well. They do work pretty well. There are some occasional things, but they do work pretty well. Not quite as good as GeForce Now, but you've also got some exclusive games coming to Stadia, so that's really cool. And then you've got xCloud. xCloud has the potential to be really good. I just don't think it's good right now. That's just a personal opinion. One, as far as we know, it's only coming to phones. They could have it come to other stuff later. Maybe they might have said something about it coming to tablets and stuff. I feel like that was a thing. But it's very unclear about what xCloud will be supporting. But as of right now, it's only on phones with the beta, on Android phones. And, you know, I don't think it's the sort of the thing where it's like, I think the distance between GeForce and Stadia is the distance between Stadia and xCloud in terms of how it works. Like, I don't notice any lag, but there have been tests to show that xCloud has worse latency than Stadia. But again, it's not super noticeable. I played some Crackdown on there. I really need to test it out more. I just haven't really had a reason to. You know, I own an Xbox, so it's like I own Game Pass. I have no real reason to use xCloud. And so I haven't tested out a whole lot, but from what I have played, you know, I don't see any glaring issues. But it's also capped at 720p. And so as of right now, I think xCloud is the worst of the bunch. And that's just because there's not a whole lot there. There's no real reason for me to want to play it, to use it. And so, it's just, you know, it's just there. It's on my phone. I could if I wanted to. I just don't really want to. And so, you know, yeah, it's kind of what I got to deal with. But Yeah, also important to note, GeForce and Stadia owners, like if you own both, if you have your Stadia controller and you're trying to figure out what you can use with GeForce, you can use the Stadia controller via mobile. My buddy told me you cannot use a Stadia controller with PC. I'm going to trust him on that. I haven't used it myself, but you can use it mobile. And so if you hook up your Stadia controller to your phone, you can use it to play on the go. So you can use Stadia controller with that if that's what you want. Or you can use an Xbox controller or any Bluetooth controller you want. So yeah, feel free, go for it. I use the Xbox controller on the PC and I use the Stadia controller for the Go just because I have the claw now. Whoop, whoop. So which it works really well, and I really enjoy having it. So that's why I use the Stadia controller, because it's already all hooked up and I don't have to worry about getting something for my Xbox controller. I just use the Stadia controller with the claw. So yeah, that's what I use for mobile. Like I said, I played some Apex mobile with GeForce Now, and it ran really well. It's kind of hard. I wouldn't necessarily recommend playing Apex on there because it can get really hard to see in the distance. Like I had to squint to try to find people, and it's kind of hard to aim away too with that. So wouldn't recommend playing Apex on the phone, but you can. So yeah, I would recommend stuff like maybe Doom. I might try out Doom on my phone tonight. That'd be cool. Then again, I can technically play Doom on the Switch, so I should find something I can't. Maybe I'll try out Overwatch. I don't know. We'll see how that works. But yeah, so that's the cool things. Yeah, this is definitely going to be over on time because I still got a bunch of stuff I want to talk about. And my throat is getting all dry, but well, I don't know what I was gonna say. There's a phrase that people say, but I don't remember. We're gonna keep on trucking. That's what we're gonna do. And so another thing I want to talk about, a bigger thing, is just talk about the January. What's been going on in January and what we got to look forward to in February. And so we're gonna get into all that. So January was kind of a slow month, and February is not really a whole lot bigger. But one of the things I'd like to highlight are the bigger things that happen in the month, and also the well, not a lot. I'm overhyping it. Okay, let's just get into it. The best game to come out this month, and a lot of the better games were ports or remakes or things like that. So like Tokyo Mirage Sessions or Stranger's Wrath HD, games like that. But the best new, completely new game for this month was actually The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. So that's really cool. I was a little jealous because, I don't have a PC VR headset, but this spring is supposed to come out on PlayStation VR. So I'm very excited, and I will pick that up because I'm a Walking Dead fan. I guess I should say I'm an ex-Walking Dead fan. I don't watch the show anymore because I think the show's ridiculous now, but I liked the show when it was good. It's just not good anymore. But I fell off in season, whatever season that Negan got introduced in. It was the season after that. It was after they killed who. You know who they killed. The big one. The big one that's been there since season 1, and he's the best character in the history of the world. When they killed him, I couldn't. I finished off that season, but I couldn't keep going because he was my favorite character. And like I said, the show was dipping. It just wasn't that entertaining to watch anymore, especially without him. So I stopped watching. Rest in peace, my buddy. I miss you every day. But yeah, I like the Walking Dead world, so I really want to play Saints and Sinners. And I was excited to hear that it's coming to PlayStation VR, and pretty soon. So I will definitely pick that up. But the biggest game that came out this month was Kakarot, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. I didn't play any of that this week. I don't know. It's kind of overstaying its welcome a bit. I think a lot of people have kind of said that, if they would have just focused on a couple of sagas and then made sequel games, it would have been better because then they would have been able to really expand on a lot of stuff, include more things. Because I'm still in the Cell arc, and it's kind of getting old. It's getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I've kind of had my fill of this game, but it keeps on going, and so it's getting a little bit more grindy, and there's no real incentive to do it, and so it's just like I'm not really enjoy. I enjoy it for the story, but the gameplay is just kind of old now, and so it's still a good game, but that's why I haven't played it, just because I don't have a huge urge to, because it's just like, yeah, the gameplay is kind of getting a little old on me, but it's still fun. You know what I mean? But Yeah, definitely the biggest game of the month, but it was a pretty slow month. But let's go. Anime tops the month. Heck yeah. Fear the weebs, bro. But looking ahead to February, again, it's another slow month, but there are some really cool games coming out. Hopefully they're cool, you know? So Valentine's Day, instead of spending time with, you know, people that you love, play Dreams, because Dreams comes out on PlayStation 4. Something I'm very excited about. I want to check it out. It's TBD on whether or not I will, but you know, you can make any game in it. And they also have made a game that you can play. So it's like, even if you aren't creative, you can play a game made by the developers or made by anybody. You know, you can play anybody's game. It's really cool. Like, Dreams is such a cool concept. And the stuff that people make in that game is absolutely insane. So I think this is a revolutionary game, and I'm very excited to see what people do with it. You know, now that it's going to be exposed to all these new people. But already the community on it is great, and there's a lot of really cool stuff on there. So I think Dreams is really a revolutionary game, and I'm excited to see it take off. But you've also got a huge thing for Xbox. So you got Wasteland Remastered that comes out on the 25th. So that's going to be cool. You know, if you're into the old Wasteland game. I mean, Wasteland 3 comes out in May, so having this, you know, if you want to get ready, it is coming to Game Pass, so I will definitely check it out. It's coming out on Game Pass for PC and Xbox, and it is coming out on PC and Xbox, so just get Game Pass. It's like $1. Like, they always have that, like, get 3 months for $1 or 2 months, or, you know, they have some sort of dollar deal. So yeah, just shell out the $1 and get it. So yeah, do it. Switch has a pretty slow month, but on the 28th, they're getting Metro Redux on Switch. So Metro games are really, really good. So yeah, if you don't have them already or you want to play them on the Switch, 28th, the second to last day in February for the first time in 4 years. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead and pick that up if that suits your fancy. And then in terms of third party, I mean, well, okay, Metro is technically a third party, but it's a big thing for Nintendo. But for everybody, I mean, the only other big game kind of already came out a couple days ago for you guys. Zombie Army 4 came out. I bought it. I haven't played it yet. I haven't had the time to, but I will. I want to check it out tonight. We'll see. I got some stuff to do. It's already 10 o'clock. I don't know. I want to, but we'll see. I have it installing. It should be done by now, but yeah. I want to try it out because from what I've heard, it's a good game. It's not a fantastic game, but it's a good game. It's Call of Duty Zombies. What more can you want? And so, you know, it's Call of Duty Zombies and Sniper Elite's Love Baby. So it'll be cool. It'll be cool to check this out. You know, yeah, it's already out now, but that's kind of the big February game, which says a lot about February. That's not, you know, Dreams. You got Dreams and Zombie Army. That's February. That's the gist of it. But yeah, there's some other games, but that's kind of what we got looking forward to in February. Probably not the PS5 announcement. Sorry, folks, that were saying it was going to be February 3rd or whatever, or February 5th. Is that what people were saying? I don't know, but didn't happen. Sorry. We'll see. We'll see. And so we'll get into a little bit about games that I've been playing. I've been playing a lot. I told you guys about a lot of them. I was playing Apex, Doom, Witcher, Overwatch, all on GeForce Now. They all did really well for the most part. And then I played some Firewall 0 Hour. Like I said, that was a big thing that I was excited about for the free games for PlayStation Plus. It makes me sicker than a dog, which is why I want to play it. That's another thing I'd love to play tonight, but I don't have the time to. But I really want to build my tolerance for that because it's a really fun game. I do kind of miss the gun mechanics from Blood and Truth. I feel like I'm spoiled with that. But you can't really replicate that with the aim controller because how are you supposed to reload then while holding, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of difficult to replicate those controls and then have the immersion of the aim controller. But yeah, it's cool. I like it. I like it a lot. And so I'm interested to play more. I think I played for like 20 minutes and then I was like, oh. I had to quit because my tolerance is not that good for. I have motion sickness in general, and so my VR tolerance is very low. I don't play it regularly enough to build a tolerance, but I really want to. It's just coming up with the time to do that. And so, you know. A big game I've been playing this week though is Bloodborne. So I mentioned on the podcast that 2020 has been kind of rough for me so far. I had a pretty rough start to it, and so I have good days and I have bad days, and Well, one of the things I wanted to do this year was really get into my back catalog and kind of play games I hadn't played yet and really experience, the greats. And so I start off with the more prominent ones of recent years, and Bloodborne is easily hailed as one of the best PlayStation 4 games, if not one of the best games of the decade. And so I really wanted, I was like, okay, I'll play this. And also I've heard a lot of people say it's really good for if you're if you're going through depression, or you're just really sad. And it's really weird because they're right. Like it's I don't know if it's just because it demands so much focus that you can't think about all the crap going wrong in your life. You just you try to survive here, but it works really well. And it's like, I would say that Bloodborne's the easiest Souls game. Simply because you can get your health back. You can get some of your health back by, immediately hitting back. You get 20 health things instead of like 4 or however many you get in Dark Souls, but then that's also expandable. I don't think blood vials are expandable. But it seems to be easier. It is getting harder, and it's been annoying me lately, but I really love Bloodborne. I'm kind of regretting waiting so long. It's just because I'm bad at the Souls games, and so I never can beat them. So I was like avoiding Bloodborne for the longest time. I owned it, but I just never put the disc in, and so I finally did, and I'm glad I did. Like I said, it's getting pretty hard. We'll see if I can beat this one. I don't know yet, but yeah, it is. It's weirdly therapeutic, and so I've been having a good time. I've been really busy. Like I said, yesterday I've been busy with the GeForce Now stuff, and then Firewall, and now Zombie Army 4. But I am determined to get back to Bloodborne, and I do really want to beat Bloodborne. I've kind of gotten myself, I want to do it. So I've been playing a lot of that. Another thing I started last night was for my internship, a game I'm reviewing now. It's called Bookbound Brigade. And it's a really cute game. It's sort of a Metroidvania. It reminds me the most of the Rayman games, like Rayman Legends, Rayman Origins. The gameplay is very similar to that. Really cute game. Love the art style. That's another thing. It does have a sort of similar art style to Rayman, but it's a really cute game. I haven't played much of it because I just got the code last night, and so I was able to play it for a little bit. But I'll get into that more here soon. So yeah, I'm working on a review for that game. It just came out on the 30th, so I'm a little behind, but I just got the code last night, so what can I do? But yeah, that's something that I'm working through. I also played a little bit of Rage 2 on Stadia because I think it was last Wednesday that I got the claw, and I didn't have time before I recorded the podcast, but then after I got on and I tried out Rage 2 with the claw. I was trying to play Breakpoint, but it would not launch on mobile for me. And so I asked the Stadia community if anyone else had that issue, and no one responded to me because they suck. But I can't get Breakpoint to launch on mobile. I can get any other game too, but not Breakpoint. I don't know. I'm just having technical issues with Breakpoint a lot, and so I don't know how well that game is optimized for Stadia, which makes me sad because I bought it on Stadia so I could play it on Stadia. But yeah, I played some Rage 2 on there. Worked really well. I love the claw. It's great. So yeah, highly recommend it. Also, I've been playing some Temtem. Finally, I meant to play it more, but I couldn't for a little bit because of that bug. But now it's working, and I really like it. Hopefully next week I'll have a much longer discussion on Temtem finally. But as for now, I like it. It's very challenging. I think it's because Pokemon Sword and Shield is arguably the easiest of the Pokemon games because you have Pokemon in the overworld now, so it's a lot easier to catch Pokemon in terms of like knowing the newer Pokemon to catch. And then it's not that difficult of a game. I think the only times where it kind of presented a challenge to me were towards the very end, like fighting. I don't want to spoil it, but fighting some of the bosses, and not even like I don't think the final boss is not hard at all, but a couple of the fights towards the end there had me a little bit nervous, but I don't think I ever lost any of those. I think I might have lost a couple throughout the game just because of me being stupid, but I never like legitimately lost a battle or anything. Like I said, I think I lost them. I don't even know if I did or not, but it's not a relatively hard game. Temtem is difficult. I haven't lost anything yet, but it's definitely kept me on the edge of my seat from the very beginning. And so yeah, it's something. I think it's interesting. I think there's a lot of cool stuff there. It is early access, so that's something to keep in mind. But what's there is cool, And so I'm here to, I'll be excited to talk more about that as I get to play a little bit more. I've only played for like an hour and a half so far, so not a whole lot of experience, but I like what I've played. So it's cool. And so that about wraps up the podcast. Like I said, we went a little bit over today, but that is really okay. We're probably going to go way over next week because, like I said, I want to have a deeper talk on Temtem. I plan on having a deeper talk on Zombie Army 4. Probably not a whole lot on GeForce now because I kind of covered it really well here, but I want to further test it out because this was just one night. And so I want to further test it. I want to make sure that these things are regular. I would love to try it on the Shield, but I don't own it, and it's $150, $200 for the better one. So as you can, I don't have that money, so I will eventually, hopefully, but yeah, I can't test that right now. And so we'll talk more about that. A lot of stuff I really want to talk about. I think there was something else too I wanted to get deeper in, but I don't know. So yeah, next podcast will probably be really long, but thank you guys for listening to this podcast. Again, if you have any comments, let me know down in the comments on YouTube. Thank you guys for listening. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, any of those. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for having to look at this face for over an hour. Thanks for sticking with me, or just listening to the parts you wanted to. It's really whatever you want. This is for you guys, but it's also kind of for me because I really love doing this. I said last week, this is the highlight of my week. I love being in the studio. I love, talking about stuff that I'm passionate about, that I love. This is kind of what I want to do with my life. I really enjoy doing this stuff, and I hope you guys enjoy what I'm doing. Also, let me know anything. Is there anything I'm doing really well or really poorly? Please let me know. Any sort of criticism, constructive criticism, or things that you really like that I should maybe focus more on, things like that, please let me know. Like I said, I'm always trying to improve this podcast. I'm always trying to make it better every single week, every single day, almost. I'm always trying to think of new things for the podcast. I do have things that I'm planning on implementing in the future that I've just kind of held off while I kind of, try to perfect the podcast now as much as possible, but I do have some areas for expansion that I'd like to do in the future. Not super far off, but I've taken these first few podcasts and I've just been, there's things that I have in mind, for the future, but I hope to implement those fairly soon. But yeah, like I said, always trying to improve, always trying to be better for you guys, but also because I love what I do here. And so thank you guys for listening. And I will see you all next week. All right. See ya.